Christianity makes a very specific promise: abundant life. So why are the pews emptying out? The numbers are stark. Over the last 50 years in the United States, the Christian population has dropped from 91% down to just 63%. This chart shows the actual reasons people are leaving the church, according to Lifeway Research. While we often focus on intellectual doubt or clashes with science, the data points elsewhere. A culture of fear and guilt, coupled with an inability to ask hard questions, drives people away far more effectively than any scientific discovery. The modern believer is running a deeply outdated psychological software. We can call it Fear OS. Under Fear OS, you take on the identity of a defendant. God acts as the prosecuting judge. Your entire spiritual life functions as a survival horror game, where the main objective is policing your own flaws to avoid an ultimate game over. People are walking away from a system that is crashing because its foundational code no longer supports human flourishing. We have tried to patch this system before. In 1517, Martin Luther nailed his theses to a church door, triggering the first Protestant movement. Luther successfully moved the mechanism of salvation away from financial transactions, establishing that forgiveness comes through faith and grace. But the update left the underlying engine untouched. Even after the Reformation, the primary reason to practice that faith remained the fear of punishment. 5 centuries later, the modern era requires a complete operating system rewrite, one built on the logic of love. This fear-based code can be traced back to 410 AD, when the Roman Empire was collapsing under the weight of invasions. Amidst this societal collapse, a theologian named Augustine formulated the doctrine of original sin. He created a strict theological firewall to maintain social order in a world that felt like it was ending. That firewall was built on a linguistic glitch in translating the original Greek of Romans 5:12. The Greek phrase ho meant because all humans make mistakes, but Augustine used the Latin in quo, meaning in whom all sinned. That single word changed the definition of humanity. We were no longer people who occasionally fail. We became beings who are inherently defective from the moment of birth. This firewall held the early church together during a crisis, but it has kept billions of believers in a theological prison for 1,500 years. The Love OS update restores a different identity. You carry a divine fragment, the Imago Dei, which makes you a player in a game of growth rather than a defendant in a trial. In this system, Eden functions as a growth simulator. The environment was specifically engineered to provide the resistance necessary for human development. This chart shows the psychological concept of flow. It maps the optimal state occurring when our skills match a difficult challenge. Placing the tree of knowledge in Eden follows this logic, providing the high challenge mechanism required to level up consciousness. This progression involves white pain, the productive, burning effort of taking on a difficult challenge to grow. This is distinct from dark pain, which is the hollow suffering that comes from fear, hiding, and protecting the ego. The objective is to lean into that white pain, face the challenge, and evolve. This shift changes how we define the finish line. The original Greek texts use a specific verb tense, meta bebeken, which translates to already crossed over. It describes a change of state that has already happened and remains true in the present. This linguistic detail finds a surprising parallel in the way Albert Einstein described the nature of reality. He realized that our perception of time as a sequence of events, past, present, and future, is an illusion. This 3D block represents Einstein's block universe. In this model, every moment of time exists simultaneously. If the universe is a solid block where all time is present at once, then heaven is a physical layer of reality we inhabit right now. Jesus illustrated this logic in the parable of the talents. He punished the servant who hid his coin out of fear, but rewarded the ones who accepted the friction of the market to grow their investments. Growing those talents is the process of salvation itself. It is the measurable direction of a life moving toward love. The Eden game is still running today, governed by the single rule of sola amore, only love. When you choose to face today's challenges with love instead of fear, you manifest heaven in this very moment.